Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of the jury panel, Ms. Smith and counsel. Welcome back. We left off with Detective Ramirez's direct examination, so that's where we will pick back up. Andrew, you may proceed.
Thank you. Detective, you were moving on to January 2nd, 2010. Could you tell us what you did on that day?
I was assigned tip number 8 from my sergeant, and that tip involved a Harold Parker who had called our department. So I telephoned Mr. Parker, and his tip was that Elizabeth Johnson appeared to look like family that lived in Alabama. His information was brief. There wasn't much to follow up on, and so I concluded that he didn't have anything further of investigative findings for us.
And what else happened on that day?
I don't have any further memory of what specifically I did on that day.
Did you receive a phone call, a voicemail, on January 2nd, 2000?
Yes, I received a voice message from Tammi Smith. It was pretty late in the evening, about 10:30. She stated that she wanted to share that she thought of a way that would have Elizabeth Johnson return to our state, but that it would take 5 days. Due to the hour, because it was about 10:30, I didn't return her call that evening.
Did you return her call at some point in time?
I did. The following day, I returned her call.
And what happened when you talked to Tammi Smith on January 3rd, 2010?
She informed me that during the week that Elizabeth Johnson was gone, that she was in the state of Texas. The reason for that was to force Logan to sign adoption paperwork. She also stated that she spoke about wanting to speak to Elizabeth.
Did she talk to you about any contact with Elizabeth Johnson?
May I look at my report?
If it refreshes your recollection,
Thank you.
please do.
She just on that date expressed a strong interest of speaking to Elizabeth. But
And did you provide her any answers on whether or not she could do that?
she also spoke about, I'm sorry, if you can just give me a minute. I don't have anything. Can you give me that question one more time?
I asked if you gave her any instructions one way or the other on whether or not she could speak with Elizabeth.
I don't recall.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Detective, I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 21. And I'm handing in this to my co-counsel. You describe what was contained in that package and is on that disc.
This is from telephone contact from January 2nd of 2010.
Okay. Now, was it actually January 2nd, 2010 or January 3rd, 2010?
It's my air, January 3rd.
Okay. But you marked it January 2nd?
Yes, I did.
But you recall it was January 3rd?
3rd.
Yeah, at this time I move to admit exhibit number 21.
Any objection?
Could be a little more foundation, Judge?
Not sure. Foundationally, she testified it was a recording of the phone conversation she had with Ms. Smith. Do you want to?
I'm with Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, if there's something foundationally, specifically I'm not thinking of, let me know. I'm happy to hear you on it, but right now, I think they've established proper foundation. Exhibit 21 is admitted.
Your Honor, permission to publish?
You may.
And for everybody's information, this is about 17 minutes long.
Hi, is this Ms. Smith?
I'm sorry, what?
Is this Tammi Smith?
Yes?
Hi, Tammi. It's Detective Ramirez, Tempe Police.
Hi.
Hi. I received your message last night. It was too late by the time I retrieved it, so I apologize.
It's okay. I was just quite upset because these calling yesterday evening, it seemed as though nobody cared about, like, I started off, I have some information about Gabriel, and everybody, well, can you just call back tomorrow? And I'm thinking, wow, there's a baby missing, and everybody's wanting, every phone number I call, it's call back tomorrow or Monday, and I'm thinking, that's pretty sad.
Do you have my business card with my direct work number? I thought I left you one because it'll come straight to my BlackBerry.
I didn't. I have the number that you. I mean, I do have the business card, but I have the number that you gave me that I wrote down. You said this is the number, so I figured it's probably the same number. And then I called a bunch of other numbers.
Okay, no worries.
Really, I have an idea of how she can tell us. Her whole this whole thing started when she left with, if the father would sign the adoption papers, she knows legally he has 5 days to change his mind. And after 5 days, she'll bring the baby back, and then she'll sign papers. And if you guys, I believe I know her mentality well enough that if he were to sign papers and her attorney said, yeah, this is legit, and it's 5 days, and, or whatever, and I talked to her, and I basically say, yeah, all he wanted was for you to go to jail, and you're right, he cared nothing about that baby, and, and all that stuff. I believe that after 5 days, she will tell me where that baby is, and, sign her papers and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that's what she will do. Now, if after 5 days she doesn't, I mean, my mindset thinking if after 5 days she doesn't, maybe she did kill the baby. But then again, we've had numerous family and friends calling us, telling us, what they're seeing and reading and all this stuff. And I see nothing in there about any threat to kill the baby. I just see in there where Logan had said she said that she'd hurt the baby a long time ago or something like that. And so I don't even know if that's really true, that is what took place anyway. So I don't know. This whole thing has got us very upset because I just feel like everybody's lying to us and probably just grabbing at straws, so they're making up lies to see if we'll talk, and there's nothing to talk about, but yet at the same time we want to find that baby. So this is what I've come up with. If you guys want to use it, you can use it, and I'll help you do it. But other than that, that's all I could come up with.
Okay, let me backtrack a little with you. Who has contacted you from family?
Wait, what'd you say?
I said I'm going to backtrack just a little with you. Who's called you from family? You said.
What do you mean from family? What does that mean?
You said numerous family members had called you. Is that your family or is that her family?
Our family.
Oh,
and
your
our friends.
family.
We've got
Okay, your
family and friends that are calling us saying,
Okay.
we saw this on TV.
Sure.
Is that Gabriel, the one you were adopting?
Sure. Well, one thing that you have to remember when we do a media release, okay, we really limit when we have an open investigation. You kind of have to take it, we're not going to release specifics in reference to the case. So certainly the media is out there in reference to Gabriel, but I wouldn't get too caught up on exactly, we really do limit what we release because it's an open investigation. It's an open criminal investigation. So it's perspective, and we are not going to release important, detailed information. So the point is, right now we've got the media release that Gabriel has not been found. And again, like I said, we really do limit what we can release. And that's certainly just to protect the investigation.
Yeah. Well, one other thing that has boggled us as well is we thought that in this investigation and trying to find the baby, that you guys might want to put it out there that whoever does have the baby is innocent, and we know you were just trying to help the mother. Because and this is just my fears that we fell in love with this baby, so we want him found. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And our thought is, okay, if somebody has that baby, they may be scared to death maybe if you let the media know that we know that Elizabeth possibly gave the baby to a family and you're innocent in all this, but just come forth and bring the baby back because Elizabeth didn't know what she was doing or something. I don't know. I mean, that's just as a mother, that's my instinct that, that maybe you guys might want to put that out there because somebody may be frightened to come forward with that baby.
Sure. Sure.
Because it kind of looks like, when you look at things, it kind of looks like somebody kidnaps the baby and her car. And it kind of sounds, I don't know. I mean, that's just what me and other people have talked about, So, but
right.
if you want to do that, we're willing to do that. And,
Okay. Tell me, can you explain?
I mean, you guys can drop some phony documents or have an attorney do it or something. And because she knows 5 days that it's legal.
Okay.
And if you guys can trick her into believing that the 5 days have gone by, and I can talk to her and say, wow, you were right, Elizabeth. He wanted nothing to do with this baby. He just wanted to see you in jail and get in trouble. And so...
Well, let me ask you a couple things. When she was in Texas, when she was in San Antonio, did you talk to her during that week?
Yeah.
Okay. And during that week, did she talk to you about her plans with Gabriel, or did she mention that she had any family or any friends or anyone that had contacted her, reference like turning over that baby to anyone?
No, she had nobody. Nobody. The only hope that she had was, at first she was trying to hold him ransom and do what I'm telling you. She was wanting us to have him sign the papers, and if he signed the papers, then she would come back in 5 days and bring the baby back, and then she would sign the papers. He refused to do that. He said, no, I'm going to do this my way, and I'm not signing any papers. And of course, we have that all in text, text messages from me and him and her and all that. But
Tammy, when did she talk about doing that? When did she talk about leaving and waiting a 5-day period until Logan signed the paperwork?
That was when me and Logan and my husband finally found her that first day on MySpace, and then she texted me, and then we had the phone number. It was like during about an hour, the first hour or two, when we first contacted her through MySpace, and then she contacted us back.
And you just lost me just a little bit there so that I can follow. Roughly, what week are we talking about, or what day are we talking about?
Let me
well, here, this might be easier. The report came in December 27th on a Sunday. Was that before the report came in? She was in San Antonio.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking my guess, and this is just my guess because it's in my text messaging, which I'm on the phone right now, so I can't look at. But my guess is on the 22nd.
Okay, roughly the first week that she left.
I'm thinking the 22nd was the day that we sent her that message through MySpace.
Okay, so the first week that she left, she had talked about just kind of holding out until Logan signed papers, and then she would return. She wanted him to sign the papers, and in 5 days she would bring the baby back to us and sign the papers too. Because talking to an attorney, you have 5 days to change your mind if you're going to put the baby up for adoption, and she did not want to sign papers until he had his 5 days done so that he couldn't change his mind and then he would have the baby. You know what I mean? Okay, let me ask you this.
His 5 days were over with.
Let me ask you this, since you've chatted with her and so forth. Okay, so obviously she's placed under arrest and she does not have the baby with her. Do you have any idea who she would have talked about leaving the baby with? And you're right, I do believe that someone, if there's a couple that has the baby, they have no idea, in a sense, the drama that's behind this baby.
Right, just like us. I mean,
right.
If she had given us the baby and 2 days later we saw it on the news, I'd be like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? I'm scared. Right. What if we go to jail for kidnapping?
Right,
you know what I mean?
But you have to remember, we can't...
And I'm sure I would end up calling the police because I wouldn't want to get in further trouble, but at the same time, I'd be scared to death. And it may take me a couple days to call and get the nerve up to call, and I could always say, well, I didn't see it on the news yet, and I just know that, it'd take me a couple days to get the nerve up to call to know that I wasn't in trouble,
Sure. So during that, do you know no one that she would have talked about leaving? There's two concerns here. Certainly, did she leave the baby with someone, and who? At the same token, we have a direct threat that...
The only person may be her grandmother in Boston, but I think she's like in her 80s or something, like 70s or 80s maybe. And the grandmother had said, if she's going to put the baby up for adoption, I'll take the baby.
Yeah,
and that was said around the time when she first gave us the baby. Okay. The grandmother was a little bit upset and said, well, if she's going to put the baby up for adoption, I'll take the baby. But I can't foresee the grandmother, unless if she stayed in that hotel waiting for grandma to fly in, get the baby, and fly back out.
No, we've contacted grandmother. There is a witness to a couple that did meet up with her, so that's why I'm trying to. So there is we have that, and I can't release specifics on that, but
that's fine. But I think whatever state or city that's in, you need to really, really flood that with "you're not in trouble. You are our angel, our savior, to help this baby, so she didn't harm it." I just know the mentality of people when they think that they are going to be in trouble. What do we do? Who knows what somebody's going to do in their mentality,
Right.
They could drop them off at a church in the middle of the night because they're scared. If they even do that, that would be, at least they'd have, you guys would have the baby, but
right. Well,
they may hide, or they may say, we always wanted a baby, let's go to Mexico, I don't know. But most likely they're going to come forward if the media lets them know that they have saved this baby, and that, they're looking for these people who have saved the baby from harm and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, that's just my thoughts on it, and I just want him found and to know he's safe.
Well, let's do this, Tammy. If just so that you don't go through the hassle in terms of trying to reach someone, if you use my desk line, it'll come through to my BlackBerry. Sometimes there's a slight delay, but it's not like hours. Sometimes it's like a 15-minute delay when I get it on my BlackBerry. But if that would be the best number, so that you're not feeling frustrated and so forth. And then I will get back with you. I'll touch base with you probably in a couple days. If not, I don't think I'll touch base back with you today, just simply because we've got a whole bunch of things going on, and I have to throw this out to command staff and so forth. So if anything comes up that you think about or so forth, feel free to call my desk line, and then, like I said, I'll get back to you. I got your message last night at like 11:45, and I thought, well, I'll just wait till the morning to contact you. Because you had said you were going to bed like at 11.
I have the main picture that you guys keep putting out there of him is not a good picture. My husband took that picture of him outside. The sun was shining in his eyes and the wind was blowing. I have got probably 30 or 40 pictures of him. I've got really good pictures.
Okay.
The other pictures you guys have of him, he's only about 4 months old in the other pictures, and he's 8 months old. So, if you guys want better pictures, we have really good pictures of him.
If you have a really good picture, now again, our PIO releases and is doing all of the media and so forth, and we have limitations to what media and so forth. But that's if you have a better picture, if you can, go ahead and send it to my email, and then or if you have two better pictures that you think, if you want to send it to my email, that would be great. I'll be going in just a little bit, and then I'll be in on Monday and so forth. And then I can get it actually on my BlackBerry to compare it. We have about 6 different shots, and so if you just have a better one that you feel is more recent and a clear, I'll gladly take it.
Those are all the ones that I've seen because I've searched through there. All of them are the ones taken off of her MySpace page, and he's like 3 or 4 months old.
Okay.
Now, he's changed a lot since then.
We're going to have a media update tomorrow, so if you can get that over to me, if you want to send me 2, 3, if you want to send me 4, that would be great. And I don't think my business card has my email, but I'll give it to you.
Hold on, let me grab a pen. Okay, what is it?
Okay, it's
That's fine, or we can skip over it if you want. Might that be easier?
Patricia, it's the way I spell it, P-A. Those today, those should come through in a little bit, or whenever you can do that, and then I will. I'll present those tomorrow because we're having another meeting in terms of an update on media and so forth, and so if anything else comes up, feel free to go ahead and call my desk line, and then it'll come through to me.
Okay.
And it shouldn't take too long. Sure. So I'll get back with you, okay? And then, like I said, just feel free to call me if you think of something else.
Okay.
Okay, you take care. Bye-bye, Tammy.
Now, Detective, when you told her that if she called the phone, it would go to your BlackBerry, what did you mean by that?
Is I could receive my emails and messages through my phone. I could see it. And that was my personal phone that it would come through, that I had an email from work.
So if she called you at work, you would get it even if you were at home?
Yes, I had everything transferred at that time.
And what was your purpose of telling her this information?
Well, she had stated that she was trying to reach me, and I heard a little bit of frustration of reaching one of us from the department. So I went ahead and shared with her that she could just send it, feel free to still leave a message, and it would come back to me at home with a very short delay.
In this conversation, you told the defendant about a witness who saw a couple meet with Elizabeth. What is that about?
That was from the investigation of San Antonio in terms of what Elizabeth had expressed during an interview with Agent Chavez.
Based on what Elizabeth had said?
Yes.
Okay, so was there a witness who saw her meet with a couple?
I'm not recalling a specific witness that saw her meet.
Did the investigation lead to a certain couple who may have met with Elizabeth Johnson?
No.
So the defendant called you up and she had a suggestion that you fill out false adoption papers. Did you follow that suggestion?
No.
Why not?
It would be inappropriate. We wouldn't do such a thing.
And what's inappropriate about it?
Well, it would be a illegal form that I wasn't willing to participate and have our department fax over an illegal document to Elizabeth Johnson.
At some point in time, was there a media release or a press release on this case?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't have the specific date, but it was within the first week of the investigation. We had the media. But specifically, the very next day, January 4th, we did a media release with Logan McQueary.
We'll go to that in a minute. I just didn't have that in my notes. On January 3rd, 2010, did you talk to anybody else that day?
I spoke to Robert Johnson Sr.
And anything else that you did on January 3rd, 2010?
No, I don't recall.
Let's move on then to January 4th, 2010. What happened that day?
January 4th, 2010 was a big day for us because we were going to have the father present to the media and for the public a public release. So I went to the Apache substation located in roughly about McClintock and University in Tempe. And my sergeant was present, lieutenant, our public information officer was present, Logan McQueary was there as well as his father. We were in a conference room and preparing for the media release. Lots of media was already at the station when I arrived.
And so what else happened on that day other than this media release?
So while I was in the conference meeting preparing Logan McQueary for what we were just about to release, I received a phone call that I recall from dispatch. I don't remember specifically who, but stating that Judge McVeigh's office was trying to notify me and that I had an urgent voice message at my work phone.
Did you retrieve that message?
Yes.
And what did you do in regard to that message?
I returned the phone call, and I remember speaking to John Johnson, who's the assistant to Judge McVeigh. And at the time, I didn't have a recorder. Johnson explained that their office had received a voice message that he felt that our department needed to hear, and it was from a woman who identified herself as Tammi Smith. I explained that I didn't have my recorder, so I took a break from the phone call and said that I would return the call shortly after finding a recorder.
And did you return the call?
Yes, I borrowed someone's recorder, and then I just called back. It was no less than 10 minutes.
And did you speak to John Johnson at that time?
Yes, I spoke to John Johnson and Judge McVeigh.
So you actually talked to Judge McVeigh himself?
I spoke to Judge McVeigh, yes.
And is that in regard to the recording we heard here in the courtroom a few days ago?
Yes.
And after having the conversation with John Johnson and Judge McVeigh, what did you do the rest of that day?
I recall continuing with the conference that was being released by our department. And I also called Tammi Smith later on in the evening to see if she was willing to participate in an interview that evening. She informed me, I called her around 7 p.m., and she informed me that she had an early morning appointment with the media and that she wouldn't be available for an interview. She also asked that we not arrive at her residence, which I didn't.
And what was the purpose for you to set up an interview with Tammi Smith on that date?
I was concerned from the phone call of Judge McVeigh. I had heard the recording that was played earlier. I had heard that recording, and I wanted to take a statement from her and address that topic.
Did you talk to anyone after speaking to the defendant at that point?
I spoke to Robert Johnson Sr. Roughly about 8 p.m. that evening. Just got some basic information from him in terms of an update, nothing outstanding. And then he informed me that Tammi Smith was to arrive at his residence for the following day in order to speak with Elizabeth. And so he provided me that information.
And did you again talk to Tammi Smith that same evening?
Roughly at 9 p.m., I received a call from Tammi Smith, and she was informing me that she was to arrive at Robert Johnson Sr.'s residence in terms of trying to communicate with Elizabeth Johnson.
She talked to you further about fictitious adoption paperwork?
She did continue in speaking about encouraging, if our department were to send this fictitious adoption over to Elizabeth Johnson, that she felt as though Elizabeth Johnson would release the location of Gabriel. I advised her that we were not going to do that. Near the end of that conversation, she stated that she was thinking of doing that. At that point, I highly recommended that she not send any form of a fictitious letter to Elizabeth Johnson to the jail in Florida.
And did you record this particular conversation?
There were very few times throughout this investigation that I didn't record, but I can't remember if this was one of the times. If I received the phone call and didn't have my recorder available, I can't recall if I did record that specific one. I didn't expect to hear from her because I had spoken to her at 7 o'clock that evening, so I can't recall.
And where were you when you got this phone call?
I was at 120 East 5th Street at my station.
Right, Detective, January 5th, 2010, Was there anything that you were doing in regard to the investigation specifically on that date?
May I refresh
Yes.
my memory? Thank you. January 5th, I assisted with co-authoring the search warrant for the wiretap.
Now, we already heard from Detective McCluskey about the wiretap. Is that who you co-authored the search warrant with?
Yes.
And he indicated the affidavit was about 16 pages.
Oh, I think, yes. That's,
Is that your memory? Mm-hmm. What did you and Detective McCluskey have to do to prepare that affidavit?
it was very extensive because I think the total of that search warrant is roughly about 30 pages. And so we communicated back and forth through the computer. He was at a different site. I was at my desk because I knew the facts of the case. I prepared a portion of it, and with his expertise in terms of the wiretap, he prepared another portion of it. And so we continued to communicate throughout the night. This was the day that I was at work, probably about 26 hours, 27 hours straight through.
And to your understanding, what was the purpose of the wiretap?
It was so that we could obtain any type of information as to the whereabouts of Gabriel Johnson. He was still missing at that time.
And who were the subjects of the wiretap?
It was Tammi Smith, Jack Smith, and Robert Johnson Sr.
You talked about that being a pretty extensive day at work. Did you do anything else in regard to the investigation on that day?
I worked throughout the entire night with Detective McCluskey on that search warrant preparation. And it was about, somebody drove me home, and then I took a nap, and somebody picked me up. So I just worked that throughout the entire night.
And that was January 5th, 2010?
Yes, I believe so.
And Detective McCluskey talked about minimization meeting. I'm not sure if that's what he called it, but he talked about a meeting where everybody was told the rules of a wiretap. Were you part of that meeting?
Yes, we had a big meeting. I'll just leave it at that.
Now, is everybody in the Tempe Police Department allowed to participate in an ongoing wiretap?
No.
What has to happen for someone to be able to participate in the wiretap?
It is very limited as to who can participate in it in terms of privacy. We also sign off that we cannot disclose information from that wiretap even to another detective. If that detective was not involved in the wiretap, then even at work, as we often will talk at work, we are not allowed to disclose anything of that wiretap.
Now, you previously talked about Ron Olive from the National Center for the Missing and Exploited Children, and how there were times he was not allowed to participate in some conversations. Conversation about the wiretap, would that include some of those conversations he couldn't participate in?
Absolutely.
If a person was not involved in the minimization meeting, would they be allowed to participate in the wiretap?
No.
Now, did you ever go to the wiretap room and listen to the calls?
I went to the wiretap room initially when we presented. I presented to the room in terms of our investigation, as well as Detective Thompson was there. And then I went to the wiretap room to learn of updates. I did not specifically listen to the calls, no.
Moving on to January 6, 2010, is there anything you did in particular on that day in regard to this investigation?
No.
Let's move on then to January 7th, 2010. What did you do specifically on that day?
I prepared to fly to Miami, Florida for the extradition of Elizabeth Johnson.
And what do you mean by you prepared to fly to Florida for the extradition? What exactly were you going to do?
I went along with the sergeant and another detective to pick up Elizabeth Johnson from the Miami Beach jail.
And prior to you leaving to go to Florida, did you talk to Tammi Smith?
Yes, I briefly spoke to her. I mean, I was preparing to fly out, and I advised her that I would be unavailable for a few days. I didn't tell her specifically where I was going, but that I would be unavailable.
And did you call her or did she call you?
I don't recall who called who. I believe I don't recall.
What was the purpose of you calling, or you telling her that you would be unavailable?
Well, I wanted to communicate that if she was to call my work desk, I wouldn't be available, and it was going to take about 3 days to return to the state, so I wanted to communicate that.
And so you went to Florida on the 7th?
I did.
How long were you in Florida?
I was in Florida the 7th, 8th, and 9th of January of 2010.
And while you were in Florida, did you hear from Tammi Smith again?
I spoke to Tammi Smith on January 7th of 2010 in the evening hours after entering my hotel.
And what caused you to speak to her on that day?
I had learned from the media of complaints that Tammi Smith had stated that she had been trying to reach Detective Ramirez. I was a little frustrated that I had communicated that I would be unavailable, and so I used my recorder and I telephoned her.
Did you also receive a voicemail from her before you called her?
Yes.
So when you called her on January 7th, 2010, what happened in that conversation?
At the start of that conversation, Tammi Smith wanted to know why she and her husband were listed as people of interest. That had been released in the media. I was in our state, in Arizona. I was in Florida. So she said that her attorney was upset, and why were they people of interest? I did not want to discuss that while on the telephone, so I had to explain that when I returned that I could talk to her in person.
And why is it that the Smiths were listed as persons of interest?
Well, as the investigation was progressing up to this point, there were things such as Judge McVeigh's phone call statements that she had made, and we started to have concerns as to their role in the investigation.
And what was the purpose to release this to the media?
That was a command decision with the public information officer, and so I'm not sure as to the exact what was the plan or the decision. I wasn't in the state when that was released.
When you talked to Tammi Smith, did you talk about her call to Judge McVeigh?
Yes, I did.
What happened in that conversation?
I confronted her about that phone call to Judge McVeigh, and she stated that a reporter by the name of Yanni had encouraged her to make that phone call.
And do you know anything more about Yanni?
No, I've never interviewed Yanni.
Did you ask the defendant why this reporter would encourage her to make such a phone call?
I don't recall specifically asking her why Yanni encouraged her to make that phone call. I just recall that was the statement that she gave me.
Did she explain why it is that she would have followed the advice of a reporter to make that phone call?
I don't recall asking her that.
Did you talk about her desire to find Gabriel in that conversation?
May I reflect to my notes?
Yes, please.
I did talk to her about pre-planning. I did confront her about her plan and knowledge of what Elizabeth Johnson was doing. She then spoke about how Elizabeth Johnson wanted to obtain a new birth certificate.
And did she tell you that she wanted to find Gabriel to clear her own name?
Yes.
And did you again talk about the changing jurisdictions conversation that she had that first week of December?
Yes.
And what did you discuss regarding changing jurisdictions again with the defendant this time?
I don't recall specifically what I addressed in that. She talked about her friend Janet Morris and changing jurisdiction. The phone call wasn't, from my memory, about 20 minutes. It was later in a future interview that I confronted her, and we addressed all of those topics.
Did you also talk about a GPS device?
She stated to me, going back to the date of December 18th of 2009, when she returned Gabriel to Elizabeth Johnson's custody, that she did see a GPS Garmin in the vehicle.
Prior to this date, had she advised the police that she had seen a GPS device in Elizabeth Johnson's vehicle?
No.
Did she explain to you why it is that she was telling you this information now?
No, I don't recall that.
Not at this.
No, not at this.
So on January 8, 2010, what did you do?
I went to the Miami Beach Police Department, and I met with Sergeant Schoenfeld, who had assisted us earlier with the arrest of Elizabeth Johnson.
And on that same date, did you also talk to Mikhail Kadash?
Yes, Sergeant Schoenfeld, he directed us to where Elizabeth Johnson was arrested, as well as I had a sergeant with me and another detective. So we then went to the Santa Barbara hostel at 230 20th Street in Miami, Florida. And I met with Michael Kadash, and I had an interview with him that was recorded.
And while you were there in Miami, did you obtain any property or evidence or anything?
I did obtain some some property belonging to Elizabeth Johnson that was turned over from the jail staff to us.
And what did you do with that property eventually?
It was impounded.
And when you went to Florida, did you go by yourself?
No.
Who went with you?
I went with Sergeant Bob Johnson and also with Detective Corney.
Sergeant Bob Johnson? No relationship to the other Bob Johnson in this case?
No.
On January 8, 2010, the same day you met with Sergeant Schoenfeld in Miami Beach and talked to Mikhail Kadash and went to the hostel, did you have any contact with Elizabeth on that day?
No.
On January 9th, 2010, what happened?
We, Sergeant Johnson and Detective Corney, we went to the Miami Beach jail to pick up Elizabeth Johnson.
And after you picked up Elizabeth Johnson, where did you take her?
We then went to the airport in Miami-Dade. Police assisted us because we had a little bit of a time, not a layover, but I think we had about an hour to wait. So they assisted us with their jail that they have at the airport.
And what happened after you left the airport? Did you get on a plane with Elizabeth Johnson?
We got on a plane to come home.
And did you fly back to Arizona then at that point?
We flew back to Arizona, yes.
Did you have any conversation with Elizabeth Johnson during any of this time period about the facts of this case or what happened to Gabriel or anything regarding what you were investigating?
No.
And why is that?
She had declined. I had learned that she had declined an interview when she was interviewed earlier by other law enforcement officers. And so she was in custody, and the requirement would be that she needed to initiate, that she wanted to speak with me about this investigation.
And did she ever initiate the desire to talk to you about this investigation?
No.
Was that hard for you to sit with her all that time and not ask her where Gabriel was?
It was very hard.
At some point in time, did you return back to Arizona?
Yes, January 9th.
And did you do anything further in regard to the investigation on January 9th, 2010?
I booked Elizabeth Johnson into our jail that night and left work roughly around midnight.
And how about January 10th, 2010? Did you do anything in regard to the investigation that day?
May I refresh my memory?
Please do. Let's Let's move on then to January 11th, 2010. What happened that day?
Our department had received a media tip of a person by the name of Craig Cherry, that possibly his name was on a paternity document. And so our command staff had assigned Detective Duplessis, also Detective Ryberg, to work on that tip.
And what else did you do on January 11th, 2010? Oh, let me ask you this. Prior to the media tip that you heard about Craig Cherry, had you ever heard from Tammi Smith about Craig Cherry and his name's involvement in this case?
No.
Had anybody in the Tempe Police Department heard from Tammi Smith about Craig Cherry?
No.
Did you do anything else in regard to this investigation on January 11th, 2010?
No.
Let's move on then to January 12th, 2010. What happened on that day?
I don't have anything documented in my report. I mean, I was certainly available at work, but I don't have anything noted.
For January 12th, 2010?
I'm sorry. I do have, if I can just look at my notes quickly.
Perhaps.
On January 12th of 2010, I called Judge McVeigh's office. And I spoke to Judge McVeigh in reference to this tip that we had received to see if he had any information, if he was aware of the name of Craig Cherry in terms of the paternity paperwork.
And did Judge McVeigh have any information for you?
No.
Sustained.
Actually, it's a yes or no question.
But it's intending to convey communication. Sustained.
Other than talking to Judge McVeigh on that day, what else did you do in regard to the investigation?
On January
12th,
12th, I then prepared a search warrant for Elizabeth Johnson's trailer.
Did you also participate in that search warrant?
I did.
What was your role?
I arrived during the execution of that search warrant, and I assisted with searching through Elizabeth Johnson's bedroom and through different parts of the trailer home. And then it was turned over to Detective Naomi Galbraith to further assist and to impound our items and package things, and I left.
Now, there's been testimony now about the search warrant of Elizabeth Johnson's trailer, and we have testimony that you obtained some property from the Miami-Dade jail, and we've had testimony about some property that was sent to the Tempe Police Department from Miami Beach Police Department, or from them to the FBI who sent it to Tempe PD. In any of that property, the search warrant or the property that was sent to us from Florida or the property you brought home from Florida, did anybody find that letter that Elizabeth talked about that Tammi wrote to her the time they met at the airport?
No.
And on January 12, 2010, did anybody contact Craig Cherry?
If I may reflect, just so I make sure I don't have my dates wrong on that. Yes, it was Detective Duplessis and Detective Ryberg were asked to assist in that.
Did they actually interview Craig Cherry on that day? Or a different day?
The first day they couldn't find him, and it was the second day that they interviewed him, from my memory.
Let's move on to January 13th, 2010. What did you do on that day?
I apologize. I need to refresh my memory. January 13th. I don't have anything noted. I can't recall anything on January 13th.
Was there a time when you talked to John Johnson from Judge McVeigh's office?
Yes, I was driving when he telephoned me, and because I wasn't able to take notes and so forth, I explained to John Johnson that I was driving and that I would return his call, or that someone would communicate with the office at a later date.
And did you have any conversation with Tammi Smith after January 12, 2010, a phone conversation?
I had spoken to her January the 14th of 2010 to ask her if she was willing to participate in an interview at the police station.
And Detective, I have in my notes a phone call about Elizabeth Johnson's grandparents.
Tammy did call me, and she basically asked me if I'd considered the role of the grandparents of both of them, if possibly they had more of a criminal role in this investigation than just simply grandparents.
And had you considered the possibility of the role of the grandparents in this investigation?
Certainly, we did at the beginning when we even had Boston Police make contact, and we made contact with Robert Johnson Sr. Early on.
And did you have any other general conversation with Tammi Smith other than her suggesting you look into the grandparents?
I don't recall.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Detective, I'm going to show you what's marked as exhibit number 7. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
That is from a telephone call with Tammi Smith on January 13th of 2010.
And is that the telephone call we just discussed?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of exhibit number 7.
Any objection? Exhibit 7 is admitted.
With what I hope is relief, I'm not going to play this one. Let's move on to January 14th, 2010. I believe you previously indicated you contacted the defendant again and asked if she would participate in an interview. What happened when you contacted the defendant about that?
She agreed to participate in the interview. I did explain to her that it would be at our police station.
And why is it that you wanted the interview at the police station?
Because I wanted it recorded, both audio and video.
And did she agree then to come to the police station?
She did.
And were arrangements made at a certain time for that to happen?
Yes.
While you were waiting for that time to come, did you receive any information regarding Craig Cherry?
Yes. Detective Duplessis, he was assigned with the task of getting information, a statement from Craig Cherry, also to obtain the original court documents in terms of the paternity. So I did receive an update from him.
And did you ever see a copy of that document?
Yes. Of the original court document?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
And was that on this date, January 14, 2010?
Yes, it was.
What did
I missed that question.
And was it on this date, January 14, 2010?
Yes.
And what did you notice when you looked at the document?
I noticed that the name Elizabeth Joanne Johnson was spelled incorrectly. The E was missing, and it was throughout the court document, which I found very unusual.
And did you notice anything else when you looked at the document?
It appeared as though there were two different.
Objection. Objection.
Sustained.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what the foundation is required.
For a handwriting analysis?
She just testified as a layperson.
I'm sustaining the objection. She may be testifying as a layperson, but it's an expert opinion.
Your Honor, for the record, I disagree. But
I understand that, and I can tell. Move on.
Detective, was there anything that concerned you about this document?
Yes.
And it. looking at the document, did you then meet with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
You indicated this was at the police department and it was audio and video recorded.
Yes.
What happened in that interview?
In that interview, at the start, she talked to, I remember Tammi Smith talking about frustrations of how her daughter was being affected by this investigation. And she gave me an example of that. She immediately wanted to talk to me about Craig Cherry and spoke about, I recall her speaking about no one hearing her side and in terms of Craig Cherry. And I explained to her that we would talk about him later in the investigation, in the interview, sorry. Early on, I also asked her for a handwriting sample, which she agreed to. And after the handwriting sample, I turned that over to Detective Galbraith.
And Detective Galbraith testified about obtaining that document. Can you tell us a little bit more about the specifics of providing that document to Detective Galbraith on that day?
Tammi Smith was asked to give us a sample of writing a check. It was in cursive. I then recall the door or somebody knocking on the door, and I passed that over to Detective Galbraith.
Exhibit number 61. And as we previously learned from Alan Kreidel and Detective Galbraith's testimony, there's actually 3 envelopes contained herein. And I actually want you to look at one of them. And this is an envelope. Well, I'll actually have you describe it. What is this?
These are copies of checks from Tammi Smith from her bank account and business account.
And are those the same checks that Detective Galbraith testified that she obtained in a financial records request?
Yes.
And what else is contained in there?
And also Tammy's sample that I asked her that she would provide to us.
And is that the sample you provided to Detective Galbraith?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I move the admission of exhibit number 61, and I'll show it to defense counsel before I do.
Show it to the first, please.
I will remind the court that Detective Galbraith laid the foundations for what's in the other envelopes.
I remember.
So there's a request to admit 61, so after Ms. Phillips has a chance to look at it, then you can tell me whether you have any objection.
I would object to foundation, Your Honor, as to this one document and as to the handwriting sample that Detective Ramirez requested from Ms. Smith.
Is it the document she just specifically identified or a different one?
Your Honor, this particular document I don't disagree with. Perhaps we just pull this out of exhibit and mark it as something else. I had thought the foundation had been laid by a different detective, but I'm not remembering it right now.
Okay. Let's take that out. With that document out, do you have an objection to it remaining, or is it
Well, Your Honor, we've heard testimony from Detective Ramirez that she asked Ms. Smith to provide a handwriting sample, which she did, which Ms. Smith did. But I haven't heard any foundation as to where that sample is or whether or not Detective Ramirez saw her provide that sample. I just haven't heard enough information about the sample that was provided by Ms. Smith.
Lay a little more foundation with the sample coming from Ms. Smith to Detective Ramirez. That's a fair question.
I'll do that, Your Honor. Detective Ramirez, can you explain how it is that you obtained that sample from the defendant?
She was in our interview room, and due to the original paternity document, our department made a decision that we were going to ask her to provide us with a sample of her handwriting for comparison. And so when she was in the interview room, I asked her if she would provide us with that sample and gave her a sheet of paper in which she wrote out a check, and it was in cursive. She provided that to me. She agreed. And then I turned that over to Detective Galbraith.
Your Honor, at this time I can move for the admission of Exhibit 61 minus this envelope.
Ms. Phillips. So to be clear, Exhibit 61 is admitted minus the document that Ms. Andrews just referenced. So why don't we take that envelope completely out? So we're giving that to the clerk. That's coming out of 61. We'll mark that separately. 61 without that is admitted. That's going to be 61.001.
And Detective, in regard to this handwriting sample, you indicated that it was in cursive?
Yes.
And you were present when Alan Kreidel testified?
Yes.
And that's not actually the handwriting sample he used to compare to the court document?
That's correct.
Because it was in cursive?
Yes.
Detective, I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibit number 206. You recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the audio recording of the interview January 14th of 2010 with Tammi Smith.
And does that include redactions to comply with some legal rulings?
Yes.
At this time, I move for the admission of Exhibit 206.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 206 is admitted.
Your Honor, I'm going to request to publish this. I don't know if you wanted me to start now.
How long is it?
It's quite lengthy.
I think we can guess what the answer is going to be.
2 hours and 17 minutes.
My guess is we won't finish between now and the end of the day today, so why don't we not start it and then pick it back up? We'll start it again when we come back on Monday. All right, so.
I promise this is the longest one.
Okay, the jury heard you promise that, so that's fine. All right, we're going to take our evening break, which is also our break for the weekend. So once again, you may face the challenges we talked about in terms of coming into contact with some media reports or people talking about the case. Make sure you avoid any media, you avoid the local news, you avoid any national program that may talk about court cases. Make sure you avoid people who would want to talk about the case. If somebody happens to mention it, stop them or walk away. From what I've gathered from asking you before, it sounds like you've all done a very good job of that so far. We're definitely coming into the home stretch of the case, so we're getting there. And I appreciate how hard that is, not only to comply with my directive, but also the fact that you've been here for a while, you're attentive. It takes hard work to listen and actively listen, and I appreciate the fact that you're continuing to do it. I can see it from up here, and it's very important, the process. So we're going to take our weekend recess. We'll come back Monday at 10:30. Have a good weekend, and remember the admonition until then.
Showing you. It's easier to, I'm not, So she sent me a message saying something about, isn't this weird that this girl emailed her saying I'm logging off, what do you call that? Getting rid of Tammi as a friend or whatever on my Facebook. I'm getting a lot of new friends all of a sudden, so they really need to start looking at all my new friends and seeing because if I were that person, I'd probably want to see who this person Tammi is and see what everybody's saying, because these people obviously know from what Elizabeth told me yesterday, they know that they did an illegal adoption. So anyway, this girl deleted me as her friend, and she said it was because the FBI went to her house and her husband said, get off the Facebook and all that stuff. Well, it's Natalie, what's the last name again? Natalie just came to mind. Natalie. Jack probably can remember it, or you can call Yanni and get the name. But the girl's name is Natalie whatever. And then so what I did was I looked up, since she was not my friend anymore, I looked up Natalie, the same girl's name, and I got there's a picture of a man and woman, and I just swear it's the exact description that Elizabeth gave me of the husband and wife. This woman looks almost just like Elizabeth. But I don't want to click on to be her friend, because she may, if she is, I don't want that to scare her away,
Okay. So that was on your account?
Yeah.
She's going to be your friend?
No, somebody was my friend. This Natalie girl was my friend, and it looked like it was kind of she said it was a weird Facebook account, like she had a bunch of different children, that it looks like she adopts a bunch of children. I don't know. I mean, it's just something, it may not be anything, but you might want to check it out. Okay. And the thing about Craig, I'm really upset that nobody ever asked me anything about that.
We're going to go to that. That's one of my questions.
I guess we'll go through that later.
Yeah.
But
so you don't have any other tips or so forth?
Nothing that I haven't already called in,
okay,
I don't think.
Perfect. It's just because I haven't seen you for a couple days, or I haven't spoken to you since last week.
And there's so
week,
many things. It's like, that's why I like to talk to somebody. I mean, if you guys had anybody that will at least just listen to what I have to say, and just like the lawyer on Nancy Grace last night said, the more you talk about it, the more you remember little things that you wouldn't normally remember, We're talking about 3 weeks of time between me and Elizabeth. And, and I know the police had said that in their press release about the Craig thing. And that was very, I don't know, my attorney's just not happy about anything. I don't have an attorney for this because I don't need one for this. I just have a litigation attorney. So,
okay, fair enough. All right. So tell me about when I interviewed you on that Tuesday, our first interview. I want to just review about the last time that you saw Elizabeth. Do you remember what day that was?
I would have to have, Jack's got my phone. Can I get him to bring me my phone and I can tell you?
I have it from your interview that it was...
it was a Friday.
It was Friday.
They went to court on Thursday.
It was the 17th.
Was it? Whatever that Friday was.
Okay.
That evening, I think it was around 7:30 at night, we drove and I dropped her off at the glass house, or I dropped him off to the baby. Okay. And that's when about a week ago or so, I called in the tip that I remembered that she had a Garmin.
You spoke directly. I called you from Miami, and you gave me that info on the Garmin that you had noticed it.
Yeah.
That you hadn't given it to her is what you said.
No.
You hadn't purchased it.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I spoke to you when I was there, and we were chatting about that. But when she came over to the hospital, to the church, what did she say or any talk? Because
nothing really.
Soon after that, Logan was supposed to have the baby.
Yeah, Logan was supposed to have the baby the next morning at 8 a.m. Nothing. See, it was before that. I had to put out payroll, and I've got like 4 locations for payroll, and everybody's like driving me crazy all day needing their pay. And because of everything that was going on, helping her with all kinds of stuff before that, and, you know, trying to talk to lawyers for her, trying to, you know, help her by taking her to the courthouse and just taking care of the baby, and everything that we were doing took up so much of my time, I forgot to send out payroll. And again, what's today? Thursday? I didn't send out payroll. I'm going to be scrambling tomorrow.
Yeah.
So anyway, she kept calling, which was odd. It's like, why do you know, I didn't ask her, but she kept calling, wanting me to like kind of hurry and bring the baby to her, which makes me believe that she already knew she was going to leave and she knew where she was going to go. You know, that's what I think. So, she didn't say anything to me, though. I was just like, I'm rushing, I'm trying to get there. Sorry, got payroll, I've got to get this out. And, you know, and she had told me, too, that if the baby wasn't there at 8 a.m., and I asked, can we do 12 a.m. or 12 in the afternoon on Saturday, and let me just drop them off around that time. She said, no, it's got to be 8. And she knew that I told her I can't come and drop the baby off at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, because if I'm going to do that, I may as well drop him off the night before, because I'm not getting these 2 babies out at 6 o'clock in the morning and start, you know, getting them dressed and get in the car. That's not fair to the kids. And I said, so let me just drop him off tonight.
Okay.
So she was very rushed and hurrying up and getting him in the car. Very, very rushed.
Okay. And you didn't give her any money or anything like that?
I've never given her a penny except for putting quarters in for all of her papers, you know, and then paying for the parking that day.
Okay. And the car that she arrived in, what car was that?
It was her grandpa's car.
Her grandpa's. What did you see inside it? What was inside?
I don't remember. That's why I've been begging this Detective Thompson to do this body talk thing with the cognitive memory, because, you know, maybe there's things in there that I could have seen. You know, maybe I saw a map. Maybe I saw, you know, a toothbrush or whatever, you know. And so, you know, I've begged them to do that. It's been almost a week. I don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm not going there.
Okay. We just have, it's a pretty extensive investigation, so I
just figured if we're people of interest, you guys aren't even interested in us. I don't know. That's the way it kind of looks, but...
Well, there's a lot of homework, as I've said before we even come down to this.
Yeah.
So it would be foolish for me to jump to do things without doing my homework before. So it actually makes sense, if you understand how an investigation works, to do it this way.
Yeah.
To jump and interview you so quickly, and yet I haven't checked on this, and this, it actually defeats the purpose of an investigation. So that's the whole point. And an investigation, I'll tell you what, I run investigations for months. They are not wrapped up in a week. They're not wrapped up in 2 weeks. In fact, that is rare.
Yeah.
So an investigation runs on for months.
Right.
Certainly, I'm sure you're in a position that you don't like being labeled as person of interest.
Right, because the public doesn't understand what that means. They all have been saying that we are
also limited to what we release and so forth. We that's important to an investigation. Your participation in that's up to you. What you want to release, who you want to talk to, and so forth. You're an adult. That is up to you. But we also are very careful and are very limited. We have an open investigation, but I can't do it so quickly to solve where you are to make you feel better when number one priority is Gabriel.
We can go on. I understand.
Well, I don't know necessarily that you do understand, so that's what I'm explaining.
You can explain, but I thought that there were more people, that maybe there's so many investigations in this world that there's not a lot of people, you know. But he asked me about that on Friday, if I would be willing to do that, if I wanted to do that, and I was like, please, I want to do that. So I don't know. It's just, and everybody out there. Never mind. Let's just not even go there. Just it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what you remember about, she was in her grandfather's vehicle. She was alone?
She was alone, and she was in a hurry.
Okay. And it was roughly around?
And she had been pushing me to hurry up and meet her earlier that day.
Oh, drop off earlier. Okay. Did she mention anything about being okay about leaving the baby with Logan come the morning? You guys have me talk about that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, was she okay with it? No, she wasn't okay with it. But she knew that she had to, and she was mad about it and very upset about it.
Okay. Where was the GPS placed?
It was like on the windshield, like up in the middle of the windshield, because I remember it being really dark at night, and I remember the bright light. And at that time, I didn't think anything of it, you know. But looking back now, when I was talking to Yanni, and we're just talking, and I'm like, oh my God, my GPS, I don't know where I'm going, and I said I gotta plug it in, and it's probably dead, and immediately in that conversation with her, I was like, oh my God, she had a GPS. So that's why I think that body talk thing is good, because it can possibly bring out some memories that I have. And if you guys don't have time, I know a doctor that does it here in the Valley, and he's excellent.
Well, it did come out for you. You told me about that last week.
What came
so
out?
You remembered the GPS. I think you forgot that you actually informed me about that.
Right. But I mean, if we did a body talk, maybe there's more things that I could remember, you know?
Okay. So let's go to your weekly contact when she was gone. So she's gone for an entire week. She's in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. And you had daily contact with her on the phone, correct?
Once we found her, after me and Logan and Jack talked, all of us talked, and we did that thing on MySpace, and then she got back with us. And then once that happened, we talked until I think Saturday afternoon, and then that Sunday, remember, she was just, I think Sunday was the day she texted that she killed the baby, and she wouldn't answer my phone calls that day. It was only texting back and forth.
So let's go back to, so the week that she's gone, and she's actually in San Antonio, which is roughly like the 20th, 21st, that whole week. How often did you talk to her?
Sometimes many times throughout the day.
Okay, about how long were your conversations?
I have no clue.
But what do you remember?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, we talked so much because I'd be on the computer doing work on the computer for her, like trying to find information. Can she change jurisdictions? What the laws are, you know, and things like that. So. And calling my attorney, asking him questions, you know, and stuff like that. So, yeah, we talked a lot. And also I was there for support for her because, you know, she's out alone with a baby. And I wanted to make sure she knew that we are here for you. You know, she had nobody, according to her. And we wanted to be there for her because she's in a state far, far away in a hotel room alone with a baby. And obviously her mind is not right because if she took this baby and it won't come back to go to court, then she's not right. Not saying that she's got a mental illness, but anybody who's not going to do what a court is saying to do, they're not right at that moment. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the flip side of that, because that is my thinking pattern, is she has a court date. She had to have the baby back come the 18th. You have him come the 17th. There's definitely a court order, then why would you put yourself in a position to look up changing jurisdiction? I mean, I wouldn't even touch that because that now involves you.
Because we didn't know for sure. Because we didn't know for sure. Because we didn't know for sure. This was coming from Logan's mouth, and everything that she told us
from Logan's mouth
about a court date. And this was coming from Logan's mouth.
So she didn't know that she actually...
well, I did call the courts and find out if she had a court date. And at that time, you know, when I believe they told me that she had a court date. So I don't really remember exactly. I don't know, because the lady said, or man said he couldn't give me any information on it. But if she does, if they said she has to be back, or if she has to give him the child or whatever, then she has to go by what the judge says. I don't know what that is, you know what I mean?
But I'm confused, and forgive me, if on the 17th she has the baby, she wants the baby back because she knows come the next morning she has to give them up at 8 o'clock in the morning, just like you said, you can't bring Hannah into that, you know, 2 kids.
Right, but she
knows that.
Well, she told me that this is what he's telling her. I said, well, did the court say that? And she said, well, this is what he's saying.
Okay, and so you're telling me her had no...
But wait a minute.
Proof of...
Nobody ever had papers, because I asked her that. Did they give you an order? Because when we were going through everything with Hannah, And we were going through court just about every month. It was about a 2-year, maybe court battle. Not battle, it was DCS put her in our custody. And so it seemed like about once a month we were in court. And the mom would always get these, the birth mom, she would always get a court order. They would hand us a paper, they would hand her a paper. And, from what I always knew, they give you a paper, that's the court order. And I asked her, did you get a paper? Did you actually get served orders? No, she didn't get served orders. I asked my attorney, if she wasn't served orders, does that mean it's real? Does she actually, and according to him, no, because she wasn't technically served yet.
But you're talking about something that you dealt with in a complete different state from the state of Arizona.
Right,
I mean,
but this was before.
Those are two different ballgames.
Right. I know it's like you're getting all upset, but like...
I'm not getting upset. I'm clarifying.
All right, you're not getting upset. You're right, you're not getting upset. But this is the thing. This is me talking to somebody as a friend trying to help somebody. Am I telling her you should change jurisdictions? No. I'm helping her by getting the information she would like. Is that helping her to go away? No, because when I found out by the research saying, you know what, you can't do this. And I researched it and I'm reading this to her on the internet saying, no, it's saying that if you've already had a court case open, because how do I know that? I don't know that until I researched it. The minute I researched that, and you guys could take my computer, all the stuff off of there and you'll see, the minute I researched that, and found out that all these things are saying, no, once you've started a court case in one state, you cannot change jurisdictions.
Right.
That is the information I was looking up for her. So that is what I told her. No, you can't do it. So since that was on a weekend, I couldn't get a hold of my attorney, and I tried to get a hold of other attorneys over the internet. I even emailed some attorneys saying, my friend would like to change jurisdictions. Can you please tell me if she can change jurisdictions to the state of Tennessee? Nobody emailed me back. I finally got an email back, I think, a couple days ago, though, and I just, whatever, because it's already gone and over with. But in my research that I did and trying to email people, finding out, reading all these little blogs on different things, how people are saying, because they have little, things where you can ask a question and the lawyer will go on their blog and give you answers. And immediately I called her and said, hey, you can't do that. You can't change jurisdictions. We do have a house in Tennessee that's empty that we're in the process of renovating or whatever.
Renovate.
And then my stepson has a condo that could be for rent, and we told her if you can change the jurisdictions, then we could probably help you in that case. If you can't, we cannot. So we said that, but we didn't do anything. We didn't help her. We didn't give her anything, because when I saw you couldn't change jurisdictions, that was it. And I had my friend that I've never even met personally, Janet, in Nashville, which you guys already went to her. I had her do the same thing. I called her up. I said, look, she's not believing me. She's not taking my word for it. And since you deal with the court systems and stuff like that, can you please call her and tell her? And you will see on the text messages where Elizabeth texts me back, scared to death, saying, your friend said that I'll go to jail if I don't go to court. How clear is that? So anyway, that's about it.
Okay. During that week, you sent Logan a text message stating that the only way she'll return back is if your attorney faxes over paperwork and she signs. Okay. If you were my friend, my concern would be, and my concern is here, there's a degree of interfering with a custodial issue here. It's a fine line, because that's actually the concern here.
Did he tell you what we talked about verbally, though? And I laughed about it, because he's like, tell me what she said, tell me what she said. And I laughed, and I said, Logan, I don't even want to tell you what she said. Did he tell you about that conversation?
You can tell me about that.
Okay, so that conversation that's exactly what she told me to tell him. And in that conversation, I also said, but that you can't do that because it's under duress. And I even called my attorney and told him what she's trying to say, and he's like, that's under duress. That doesn't, he can't, she can't do that. I said, okay, so what about me and her grandpa talked about, let's see. I said, are you with me on this? Actually, grandpa was totally with me on doing phony paperwork and, and so as far as that goes, Logan knew. No matter what Logan is trying to say, just because the text didn't come out right after he told me to call her back and tell her that he's not signing anything, I said, okay, that's fine. And then I text him back what she told me. Tell me what she says. I text him back what she says,
Explain, and this goes into that. When I spoke to you on Tuesday, I'm thinking that was the 29th. I had asked you then, because I had some concerns. I don't like people to get themselves in trouble, get involved with someone who might even bring them or get them in trouble, or to keep things as civil for people as possible. But you did share, I asked you, okay, obviously Logan is not agreeing to an adoption, okay?
Right. In the beginning, he was talking about it, and I think he was just telling us things like that because he was wanting to get her phone number or whatever. But okay. Yeah, he was telling us those things.
Nonetheless, Logan's not agreeing with this adoption. I directly asked you, how are you then going to deal with Logan? Because he was the person that was standing in the middle of you adopting this baby.
What do you mean, how are we going to deal with him?
I asked you directly that. I asked you, how are you going to deal with him? And you talked about using your attorney and back child support. Do you remember your answer then?
Oh, back then, from the very beginning, when she said that she didn't think that he would, that he didn't think that he was going to sign the papers, but him and his dad are on again, off again. As soon as he gets mad at his dad for something else, he's going to sign the papers. So yeah. In talking to my attorney was like, well, by the time she goes to court, because, here I am thinking this is a poor, sweet little girl that has been completely abused by Logan. I don't think that anymore. Maybe to a degree.
Why don't you think that anymore?
Well, just because I feel like she has manipulated us in this whole thing, that if she's manipulated us on a bunch of other stuff, then possibly a lot of that stuff isn't true too. I saw pictures. I've got 2 pictures in my purse to remind me that I don't think Logan's that bad of a guy, because I've got pictures of the 2 of them and of him and the baby and her. And from what she told us, he was basically he disappeared. He's a drug addict, alcoholic that steals from her and lies and cheats and comes and steals from her. So that being said, telling my attorney that information, he's like, well, he's trying to ask for custody. By the time she goes in there and he's asking for custody, then, he's going to have to do this and this and this and this. And once that happens, he's probably, if this is the guy that she's saying he is, he's not going to do those things. So.
Did you go along with that? Did you agree to
Agree
that?
What?
That to use your attorney to have him do back child support, do current child support.
No, my attorney didn't do anything about it.
No, that's what you said to me on Tuesday.
I was just talking to my attorney about it.
And when I asked you, how were you going to deal with Logan? Because Logan was in the way of all of this. And that was your answer to me, is that certainly push Logan to pay his back child support. Have him pay his current child
as a mother who had
him do visitation, and all of that stress factor probably would make him sign away his rights. It's basically, why would he be willing to put up with all of this?
Okay, but
do you understand from an investigator standpoint?
I guess when you're looking at it that way, but at that point, we weren't going to be adopting either. At that point, we wouldn't have been able to adopt, because he probably wouldn't have signed his rights away. But
that's what you answered. That's what you said when I asked you, how were you going to get past the Logan issue? Because really, the only thing that stopped this adoption is Logan. If Logan had agreed to this, you would have been in a...
But I thought we were trying to find a baby, and I'm not understanding the line of question.
The line of question is this. You're a person of interest. Okay, so as you have said, why haven't we dealt with you as a person of interest? You are a person of interest. Yes, there are people out here working. Yes, we are working with the FBI and so forth, and we've got that going on today. But just as you've stated, and I think some irritation with it, as to, okay, if you've labeled me a person of interest, that's what we're here for. We're actually, this whole point is that you are a person of interest, and I am interviewing you in reference to
well,
that.
this is what I'm hearing from my attorney. So, I mean, as an attorney, the attorney's telling me what her rights are. Her rights, you know, because we called him. What does she say on these papers? This jerk is trying to take her baby away from her. And in our minds, we've been told this guy has never once done a single thing for this baby. This guy hates the baby. I mean, we've been told all this stuff.
It's confusing to
you know
me.
what I
You've
mean?
only known this gal for 3 weeks in this process. You've known her for 3 weeks. She's a complete stranger to you in reality. Okay?
Right.
You've known her for 3
But
weeks.
look, when I
You
met
have a
her, this
father
is what
who's
she
saying
does.
no. So obviously he has, it's not as though this would have been easy if he seriously didn't care, because he would have signed his rights away. You have someone who you just do not know that's presenting a picture that
And this is what she did. She presented this picture and laid it all out. Here's their shop record. This is what these are all my parenting classes that I've gone to. I've done all this, and this is how I was able to get diapers, and this is how I'm able to get this. Here's my WIC. This is, and all this. And go look up his record and look up mine. And you know what I'm saying? And that's where it's coming from. It's like, okay, I'm looking at this poor innocent girl. I was that poor innocent girl, and I wanted to help her. No matter what, I wanted to help her, whether I got to adopt him or whether she got her rights as a mother. And we had the conversation of, this is not fair to you. And I said, you deserve child support. And at that point, we started talking about the fact that, you probably don't need to be giving your baby up for adoption. You need to go to court in March, like they're saying. Go to court, get your full custody, have him pay his child support, and do the drug testing. Let him have his visits. Let him do this stuff. And once she was gone, once she left, then it was like, okay, we're still going to help you. We'll even offer to help you with an attorney. We weren't offering the attorney back then, but at this point, now that she's gone, we're trying to get her back. We're offering an attorney, we're offering an adopter, whatever we can do to get her back. And I believe in my heart that Logan truly did not believe that was us trying to say, sign the paper, because we laughed about it. He might have not have laughed, but I laughed about it and said, I don't want to tell you.
It was a matter from his side, okay? It wasn't a matter of that it was right or anything.
Well, when you're asking what did she say, okay, I don't want to tell you this. It's not a laughing matter. Let me tell you what she said.
I said from the beginning, there are so many
and she'll
red
tell
flags.
you that.
My concern, and it would be my concern for you in the future, if you ever come near an adoption, is, one of my questions right now as you were talking was going to ask you if you actually got taken by her. If she manipulated you, if you ended up assisting her, maybe to a degree because your emotion got the best of you, because it can.
No,
you can totally latch on to her and feel bad for her.
Oh, I know, because when I was there yesterday, she completely brought me in, and no, I absolutely didn't. She is manipulative, but not manipulative enough for us to do anything.
So then tell me, here's what I want to know from you. Prior to her leaving, so she leaves on the 17th, 18th. Mm-hmm. I want you to tell me specifically, how did you end up helping her? What things did you do?
Prior to her leaving?
Prior to her leaving. So she had.
Let's see.
I brought her leaving. You tell me what you did and specifically what you did.
Okay, I brought her to that place that she takes the parenting classes. I brought her there. I stayed out in the car and waited for probably 45 minutes.
Where is that place at?
I don't know. It's downtown.
Roughly. Oh, downtown?
It's downtown.
Downtown Phoenix, downtown Tempe?
It was on the way to the courthouse, where we went to the courthouse to fill out the paperwork. Okay. So we went to the courthouse after that to do the paperwork.
And what did you do at the courthouse?
I mostly took care of the baby. I think I started to write her name. I think from what I remember, I started to write her name and the baby's name, and so it would, because they said that if you don't get it in there in such an 8 minutes or however many minutes they told us, that she wouldn't be able to file it today. And so there was something.
Do you know what date you did that, or no?
It was probably the same. It was the same day that she got served some papers, so I don't know. It might have been I don't know. It was a couple days maybe before they went to court.
Okay.
So
do you know what paperwork that was? What was she filling out?
She was she was responding to Logan of what he said. So she was responding back. She was asking for child support, back child support, all of that kind of stuff. So she was responding back to that.
Okay. And
that is when she used my cousin's name on that paper. That's the day.
Okay, I'll have you explain that. So you helped her with parenting classes.
No, I just brought her to the place.
Right. Trying
Okay.
to do that. You're jumping the gun. Just relax there. So you just drove her there, waited. Courthouse, you assisted her with court documents, her name, the baby's name. What else did you do for her?
I went upstairs to the law library. I forget what it was that we were looking up. I went to the bathroom upstairs. No, wherever she was filling out the paperwork. She was sitting there filling out the paperwork.
Okay.
And so I was holding the baby and bouncing him around, and then finally there was something that we couldn't remember. I can't remember, but there was something she needed to know. Oh, to file. She wanted to file something. I forget what it was. Gosh. It might have been an order of protection. I don't know what it was, but I went upstairs to go to the bathroom, or I went wherever. I went to the bathroom, and then after that, I went up to the stairs, and I talked to the lady up at the law library, and talking about whatever, and so we were talking for a while, and I'm sure you guys have me on camera there. So I was up there talking to the lady for quite a while, looking through a book. I forgot what it was. There was an order, something that she wanted me to look up upstairs, and I forget what it was. So maybe that body talk thing can remind me of what it was. But whatever it was, she needed an attorney to do that, and I don't remember what it was that she needed to do. And so then I went downstairs, and the lady said, they're about to lock those doors if she doesn't get in there in line right now with all 3 copies. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got to have all 3 copies? And she's like, yeah. And I said, can you copy these? And she said, you got to pay for the copies. And I'm like, okay. And it was just such a scramble trying to, get her papers, and you go get in line, and here's, and I'm like trying to make all these 3 sets of copies for her, and put more quarters in, and, trying to get dollars to find quarters and all that stuff. And so I did that, got the copies, raced over there. The door was already locked. She was in there. And I was like, oh crap. And then, so then about 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, she comes and pushes the door open. And so I went in there, and I remember putting something on her. 2 of the paperwork, she had already, something happened, and then I was redoing something on her paperwork. There was something that was worded wrong, and so I helped her to reword it while she was up in line, because I couldn't get up in line because she was in line. So I reworded her thing on there for her and then gave it back to her. And I'm trying to think what else. And then she just did the paperwork with them. She was talking to a girl in there that was like in there too, in line. And I think that was it. And then we left. I paid for the parking, and then I dropped her off at her house, and I came home.
Okay. What other things did you do for her during your time period with her?
I brought her pictures of the baby with Santa.
Was she at home when you gave her those pictures?
Yeah, I brought her pictures, and I brought her the baby to see every so often. So that's it.
That was really
I mean, moral support is all I've really done for her. Moral support and research for her and stuff like that. And here is a girl that has nobody for moral support. Looking back, I'm never going to help anybody again. I ain't helping nobody.
That's up to you.
I told my husband, don't even help anyone with a flat tire, because we might get in trouble for murder because he might have had someone in his trunk.
No, it's just crazy. In all of this, you've played a role. I mean, we are responsible for what we do in a day. We are responsible for our choices, okay? We are responsible to what level. What I said to you the first week when you looked at having her stay in the back of your house in a casita and adopting her and all of this, what I said to you back then, my concern.
But we wouldn't have really done that. That was the main thing.
Presented to me.
Right, but the main thing was to get her back here. We were offering that.
In all of that,
and maybe we would have, I don't know. But now looking at it, I'm like...
And that's what I'm saying. So if you opened your mind to that, my only thing that I said to you is remember this girl's a stranger to you. Okay, you don't know what danger she could bring to you, what danger she could bring
But
to
our next door neighbors.
I'm just telling you that you have a response. If you want to take it on that you won't help anyone, well, that is your choice. But also, you play a role here. To what level, people treat us, to the level that we allow people to treat us. I mean, we are responsible in every day in making choices. But that's just, we're both grown-ups here, and so that's roughly in that 3-week period, you had the baby for a week and a half. So definitely you cared for him. And then the parenting, the courthouse, the law, and the pictures and moral support. And that's pretty much what you did.
As far as I can remember, that is all we have done for her. I don't even think we brought her a cup of coffee,
Okay, sure. So, and this is, I think you wanted to explain this. I had 2 other detectives, so I'm not aware too much. I'm going to let you explain who is Craig and his role here.
Okay, Craig has no role. Craig was a name. We were joking. I was drinking wine the night before, and I don't know if she was, but we were. And again, this was not a case like this. So yes, it was a laughing matter. And this is
what was a laughing matter? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just qualifying it before I say it was. We were joking and we were laughing the night before she went and did those papers over the fact that there, because my attorney asked me to ask her, is there another potential father? And she said, well, yeah, but I can't say who it is because it would start World War III between her, Logan, and this guy because they're all 3 friends. Which kind of led me to believe that, I don't think she's ready. At that point, led me to think, I don't think she's really ready to give this baby up. And me and my husband even talked about that. If she's worried about what Logan's going to think and what this guy's going to think, and that's why I was more moral support at that point with helping her with everything else. I didn't think she was ready to give that baby up. And anyway, so she's saying that she's going to give a phony name. She's going to make up a name instead of putting his name. And I said, you can't make up a name. I said, if somebody came to my house with a warrant saying that my husband needs to go take a DNA test, that he's a father of a 1-year-old child, that's going to cause a lot of problems in my family. And if you just make up somebody's name, you're hurting other people's families. You can't do that. And she said, well, let's just put Jack's name down there. And I started cracking up laughing, and that started the ball rolling. Okay, so after that, we talked about, I was like, yeah, or we could put Donnie or Luke, Jack's 2 sons, and I thank God she didn't put their name down there. And then I went on laughing and talking about, or Craig Cherry, my gay cousin, the Cherry, and we were just laughing about it. So she used his name, because I was told by Craig that she used his name. So she definitely used his name, and I asked her about it yesterday, and she was like, oh, shit, like I forgot.
So they had never met?
They had never met. They don't know each other. No, he's extremely gay.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but okay. Okay, so no relationship.
He only has been with men sexually.
Okay.
And that is not going in the media, and I've put myself out there.
This is an open investigation.
Okay, so you're not allowed to say anything like that, right?
You don't even have me in the media. I say you've not even seen.
Okay. I just want to make sure that Corba Hall guy or nobody's going to say that, because I've put myself out there as somebody who does have something that I'm not going to say because it's nobody's business, and that is the fact that he's gay,
Sure.
And it might get me in trouble with the media not to say that, but
you don't need to worry about
that's
that.
his business.
This is how I run an investigation is simply that it's an open investigation and things cannot get out. It's not going to get out. It's no issue. I'm trying to clarify that definitely we have no sexual relationship going on.
They've never even met.
Have they ever spoken
They've never
to each other?
spoken.
Never spoken on the phone.
Never.
Have you spoken to Craig about this?
Yes.
Or what did he say?
Well, he's the one who told me, why is CNN calling me, And so, yeah, we've spoken a couple times about it, and I've apologized. And
when did you guys talk?
I don't know. We've talked a couple times since all of this has happened.
Okay.
So
was that this week, last week?
We've definitely talked this week. He's like telling me my days, because I don't get any sleep, are running together. But it was a couple days ago that he told me that you guys wanted to talk to him.
Yeah, 2 detectives went out to speak with him.
Okay.
Yeah. Did he tell you that?
I haven't talked to him since, I guess, because I don't know if they talked to him. But
Yeah.
he told me that they wanted him to come up, I think, yesterday or something.
My days have run together. So
Yeah.
I'm not right, or the day before. Yeah, we did ask him if he could come
Something
in.
like that. So
Okay. And he didn't want to come in?
he asked me if he should, and I said, that's up to you. I said, I wouldn't drive all the way out here. You've never even met the girl. You never spoke to the girl. You know, I said, unless if you've done something wrong, they should come out there and talk to you.
Okay.
You know, he's got absolutely nothing to do with it. He never met her, doesn't know her. She could not tell you what he looks like. And well, now he could tell you what she looks like because he's watched her on TV.
Let me ask you, and there are sides to an investigation that I certainly need to protect a witness. Mm-hmm. Okay. I am limited to what I will release to you and so forth. Mm-hmm. Okay. I appreciate it when people come forward and assist in an investigation and so forth. But have you, and certainly someone has come forward, and I chose to be limited on my evidence of something here. Mm-hmm. Did you ever talk to a friend and share that this is all in reference to Gabriel and in reference to a paternity and so forth? Did you ask a friend, whether it be in joking or what, if you could use her husband's name on paternity paperwork?
Oh, yeah, yep, I did. Yes, I did.
What's that about?
That was probably the same night that we were drinking wine, and I did call her and ask her that question. And yeah, I did do that. And this, you know, the whole thing with Elizabeth was I was trying to protect her from supposedly getting violent or having him be violent with her. She swore that there was another guy and swore that she wouldn't tell who it was. So
are you now, so that we're on the
now
same?
Looking back, yes.
Okay, but are you now? You may now understand why, and this isn't the only reason. Okay. Why you are listening?
Now I can see why that would be a person of interest.
And the deal is, like I said before, I do all my homework,
right.
Then I do an interview. Okay. I would be a fool to do my interview.
But did she also say that we were laughing about it and we were both drinking wine, the two of us, when we were talking about that?
I again am limited to what I'm going to express.
Okay.
But I am trying to clarify what we have. So on that note, and my concern, and here's where I'm at, Tammy. Here is from all my homework. Here's my concern, and here is actually on a law enforcement side that I feel may have happened here, and I'd rather it be simple and we deal with it and then make something a huge thing.
Okay, then let me tell you this to be simple and not make it a huge thing. My whole thing is I don't want the media taking this and making it something that it's not. Okay?
Okay, I hear you on that. But here's the deal. In order to have something, and not in order to have something, where this is where we are at today, okay? This is how I work. I am very straightforward, just like I told you that Tuesday. I actually try to have people just come clean and keep things
I'm going to come clean. I gave her Craig's name. I never gave her his number.
Okay.
I don't want to lie. And that is the only lie. If there's ever been a lie, that could be the lie. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want her putting a fake name.
Okay.
She wanted to put my husband's name.
Okay.
You know, and there needs to be a name, because if there is another father, she said that he'll never take a paternity test unless if there's another name down there. She didn't want him to be violent towards her and start World War III with the 3 people. So is that something that I felt that was important into finding the baby? No, because I never figured, it wasn't in my brain. I wasn't thinking, I better tell. Because my cousin doesn't even know who she is.
Sure.
And she doesn't know who he is. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I gave her a name. I gave her a name of somebody who's gay, it would not hurt his family. You know what I mean?
But you do understand.
Now I look back and say, oh my God, that was really stupid.
On a court document for her to use.
Well, according to her, this was going directly to Logan. It was being sent to
Tammy,
Logan.
I have asked to do this interview. I could have had someone else do this interview, okay? This is a shared deal. It is too much for just one investigator to handle.
I understand.
Here's exactly my perspective of, and maybe I'm wrong, okay? I think that certainly you fell in love with Gabriel. That is a beautiful baby. Mm-hmm. And I think emotions, if you could have helped it go smoother and faster, hey, why not? This is a beautiful baby. Do I believe that, you've kidnapped this baby or you are hiding this baby? No.
I wouldn't have done anything illegal.
Well, but there's degrees where sometimes we overstep. Okay, and that's where I'm trying to have you.
I didn't sign any paperwork. I didn't file any paperwork. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And I didn't even pay for the filing of her paperwork.
Okay. So then let me present something.
And that is what she, I just gave her a name so that she wanted to make up a name.
Okay.
And that's going to hurt somebody.
Okay.
And I told her that. I said, that's going to hurt somebody. If I got somebody coming to my house with a thing saying that you have to, do this test because you have a 1-year-old child and this woman's saying you're the father, that's going to destroy our marriage.
Okay. Here's where I'm at with you. And I am not here to trick you. Okay? And I've not tricked you from day one of this. Okay. So, and just like I said, my reason is if normally I wouldn't say that I would see you in 2 years, but normally the way I work is that I do see people a couple years later or so forth. I want them to trust, and I want people to keep things simple. I think that we're human, and we all make mistakes, okay? So I try to say, hey, let's just keep it as clean and as simple, and let's not make all this drama. And that is my key to you. But in order to do that, that's where you're responsible of how you help yourself out here, okay? Because once I leave this interview room, once we're done, it really falls on how honest you are, because it is what it is then at that point. Right. I'm done with something. I gave it my best shot, and I try to have someone help themselves. But if a person isn't willing to do it, well, then I'm all cop and let me do my job the best that I can, okay? Mm-hmm. So with that thought, that's why we're here. Where if we have a custodial issue, we do have a custodial issue to different levels here.
Right.
That being said, I'm going to show you something, okay?
But you do realize, if you have a friend that it has nobody to help them,
that's why I asked somebody. That's why I asked to do this interview. I'm not over here stepping on you and looking down on you, but we do have to deal with some mistakes that are in this investigation. Okay, it's that.
I understand. I completely understand.
So on this, here's a court document, certainly from Logan. Okay, here's a response. This is.
Yeah, and I can see some of my writing there.
Yeah, this is dated the 11th, and this is the response on the 14th that gets stamped, okay?
Okay.
Where's your writing in this?
It looks like probably parts of this is mine, parts of it is hers.
Mm-hmm. Certainly when someone spells a name wrong, that's a clue that it is someone else.
Right. Okay. Yeah, parts of this is mine and parts of this is hers. So, like I said, I helped do some of the paperwork, but I'm not sure how.
Here's my concern, and here's where I need you to be straight up with me. Okay. Certainly, I'm showing you things. There's no tricks here.
I will be honest. I promise.
So when we get down.
And two, keep in mind that once I see it, I'll remember, but I'm not sure what you're going to show me. I'm like, what are you going to show me?
When I've got Craig in here, whose writing is that?
This right here? Oh, okay, so that is my writing. Yes, that is right here is mine.
And read to me what is your writing so that I understand.
And I just got done telling you. I was telling you. I did help her do that. Asking Logan McQueary and Craig Cherry to submit to a paternity test and random drug testing when the father is submitted.
Okay.
So, and the reason for this, the reason why I helped her do that, and she will tell you and her attorney that she was going to put a random name down because she would not put the name of this guy because they all went to high school together. Sure. This had nothing to do with, because obviously Craig is going to take a test and it's going to come out that he's not the father, Right. So the only way she felt like she could get him to take a paternity test is to do that. And I think my attorney might have said that you have to have the other person on there, and I said she's not telling me who it is. She won't tell me.
Okay. So, but in reaching here's my issue here. In reaching Judge McVeigh, okay, we have the originals to this. This was a serious deal, certainly. Anytime we have anything court, okay, and I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm telling you flat out what we have, what we don't have, okay, and having this come over and so forth. This is where, so that you also understand why you have been labeled a person of interest, okay? There's also, here's what's important here, though. And I believe, like I said, we're human, we make mistakes. My whole point is not to throw you under the bus to the public. I'm not even out there. I've been at conferences, and I'm in the background because I want no role in that. But I do need an investigation to be efficient and to be done correctly. That's my role, okay? But my role is not to throw you. Did I think that certainly it's a big deal when we do label someone a person of interest, and we have to have something to back that up, okay? Well, you now need to recover from it. That's the way I look at things. When we make a mistake, criminal, civil, whatever, we then have to recover from it, okay? And no, my point is not here to throw you under the bus. But certainly, I'm going to tell you, here's my next level. And I appreciate you being honest, okay, because that's the only way really to get yourself in terms of dealing with something. Okay, so my next question on that is...
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to ask the detective some additional questions.
Okay, you take your time.
Your Honor, if you could also have the overhead projector at this time.
May take a minute to load.
Okay, Detective, I'm showing you what's already in evidence as exhibit number 63. This is one page out of that exhibit. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And how do you recognize that?
This is the document which Detective Duplessis retrieved for me.
Is this the original court document he retrieved?
Yes.
And you were talking to the defendant on the recording we just heard about a document. Is this that document you were discussing with her?
Yes.
And the defendant read to you some writing she indicated she wrote on this document. Would you please show us on this document what it was she...
Yes, I did ask her, I showed her the copy of it, and I did ask her to read out loud to me what she wrote. And what she read out loud to me was asking Logan McQueary and Craig Cherry to submit to a paternity test and random drug testing when the father is submitted.
And Detective, I'm going to show you the first page of that document. Do you recognize that page?
Yes.
Can you please indicate what's up there in that right-hand corner?
There's a stamp from Mike O'Kay, Jean's Clerk of Superior Court, dated 12/14 of 2009. The time is stamped at 17:18, and the case number is F as in Frank, C as in Charles, 2009-007470.
And the caption here, what does the caption read?
Superior Court of Arizona has that same case number, has Logan Scott as the petitioner, and the respondent is Elizabeth Joanne Johnson.
And is Joanne spelled correctly to your knowledge on that document?
No, Joanne is missing the E.
And how do you know Joanne usually has an E in it?
At the beginning of the investigation, we'll run a criminal history check for those that are involved, and so I knew of her correct spelling. When Detective Duplessis provided me with the court document, I noticed that the E was missing throughout the document.
And Detective, you indicated the timestamp on here is 17:18:15. What's that non-military time?
I'm sorry, that's 5:18 in the evening.
And you were present when Alicia Shumway from CPS testified?
Yes, I was.
And do you recall what time she said she met with the defendant, Elizabeth Johnson and Gabriel Johnson, on December 14th, 2009?
I do not recall the time.
1:30 in the afternoon.
That sounds correct, yes.
So this document was filed after that?
Yes.
Detective, you asked the defendant to do a handwriting sample in this case, and I believe you've already testified you gave that handwriting sample to Detective Galbraith.
Yes.
And is that the same handwriting sample she testified that she gave to Alan Kreidel?
Correct.
And I believe we talked about this last week, that Alan Kreidel could not use that handwriting sample because it was in cursive.
Correct.
I want to show you, however, what's been already admitted into evidence as exhibit number 41. And the testimony previously from both Detective Duplessis and Detective Galbraith was that this was obtained in the search warrant on January 14th, 2010 at the defendant's home. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Have you looked at this document?
Yes, I have.
I'm going to show you, it's a 2-page document. I'm going to show you one side of a page that actually has a number in the right-hand corner that's marked 1/2. What does that say there at the top?
Family court case information dated January 4th of 2010, the Judicial Branch of Arizona, Maricopa County. Family court case information, case history, has the case number of Frank Charles 2009-007470, file date of 12/11/2009. Judge is listed as Michael McVeigh, location downtown, and on the party information it lists Logan Scott McQueary, Elizabeth Joanne Johnson.
And how is Joanne spelled on this document?
That is with the E, the correct way.
And I'm just going to move it up so everybody can see it here for just a moment. Detective, I'm going to show you now a second page in this exhibit, which is marked 2/2. I'm going to show you this side of the page. I'm actually just going to show that to everybody now. Let everybody take a look. Now, Detective, I'm going to show you the other side of what's marked as 1/2 on the exhibit. You go ahead and read as far as you can read down there on that exhibit for us.
Sure. We have number 1, how are you? Number 2, we've had police. I believe that's interrogating us. Number 3, how can I get you to tell me where the baby is? What are you wanting from me? Number 5, at least tell me where the car is because this has turned into a homicide and it's got a line over it. Without, they think he's in trunk. Number 4, because you said you killed him, it changed things. Did you say, quote, you put him in a plastic bag? He turned blue and you put him in the dumpster? Number 6, was Logan aware of us having the baby since day 1 and you both were on and off with wanting to adopt him out? Number 7, when you were ready to come back here to go to court, did Logan threaten you and say you were going to jail for kidnapping and you'd never see Gabriel again? And number 8, were we trying to get you to come back?
And I'm going to go ahead and move it up so you can continue to read what else is on the exhibit.
Going back to number 8. To Arizona with the baby. Number 9, did we offer to help you to keep your custody of Gabriel by getting you an attorney? Number 10, did we set up a luncheon with Logan and the baby so he could visit with the baby the day of court and just walked away and didn't want to see him? Number 11, what other threats did Logan make? 12, did you tell me to tell Logan you would bring the baby home if he signed adoption papers? And number 13, what did he say to you about that?
And I see down here on this corner right here, the right corner. Do you know what that is?
It's no, I don't know what that. It's 2010-701-760.
Oh, I mean that little in the red with an initial next to it.
Oh, that's Alan, his initial that he stated earlier in his testimony.
Thank you. I'm going to show you now Detective the other side of what was marked as 2/2 in this, Your Honor, there are phone numbers and addresses, so I'd ask that this not be broadcast live.
Okay, so we're not going to broadcast the exhibit that's about to be placed.
If you could, Detective, go ahead and read what's written up there under number 1 and number 2.
Okay, under number 1 and number 2, we have Danny, 445.
Oh, no. Read what's written with number 1 and number 2.
Okay, number 1, we have talked to police since day 1. We have done everything they're asking. And number 2, Dad knew where baby was and never once visited. Sorry, I don't have reading glasses.
And I'm not going to ask you to read the rest of this document. I'm just going to show it. Your Honor, at this time, I would move for the admission of exhibit number 195, which is Alan Kreidel's report for the handwriting analysis he did in this case.
Objection. Exhibit 195 is admitted.
And Your Honor, I'd like permission to publish this to the jury by actually handing it to the jury.
You may do so.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask permission to hand exhibit number 41 as well.
You may do so.
Your Honor, at this time, if we could go ahead and go back to the recording.
Okay, you may. Take a knee and step down. Do you want to wait until the jury goes through that, or you want to let them pass it around while it's playing?
I don't have any problem with passing it around while it's playing.
Okay, go ahead and start the audio.
Okay, and in that message, roughly, and it's just a summary from my memory, okay, but basically, it was after the 28th.
I don't remember.
I'll give you. So you talked to Judge McVeigh about
what Yanni told me?
About what Yanni said, and possibly could that you knew that if that Gabriel would be safely returned, because safely was used in that, safely returned, if you requested to speak directly to Judge McVeigh in reference to helping bringing Gabriel back. You did throw out there that possibly maybe if McVeigh could allow you and your husband to have guardianship while these two younger people kind of get their act together. It was something like cleaning their act together. And you did bring up that you did have an affidavit or a guardianship that possibly may still be in place. Was that? And I'm giving you a summary.
I kind of remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So from that, I have the recording of that.
Right.
Okay, so forgive me if
I kind of remember. Yeah. And I never even had those thoughts or feelings. Yanni gave me that thought, you know.
Okay. So if I interview Yanni, because it's basically throwing her under the bus versus what you're telling me is it's not you did that under the guidance of someone else, and you're saying that it does not fall on responsibility of you, because I will have to follow up on that.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk to her.
So,
I even reiterated that to her after I talked to you about it, and said, do you remember when you told me to call CPS or call somebody and get a hold of somebody, and I did try calling CPS but couldn't get them. I don't remember if she said the judge, but I figured, I don't know if she specifically said the judge, but she definitely said call CPS.
You told me a couple days ago. I'm not trying to trip you up.
No.
I need you to be as clean as possible.
Now she could have.
You did tell me the judge. You told me that Yanni, when I put that out.
She might have, but I don't remember. There's so much,
and
so much
I need
stuff.
to verify, and because that's a big deal. Once you start dialing a judge's number and you start here was my.
But I thought in that message I thought I said me and Jack, and then I thought I also said or anybody else. Did you? Really listen to it to see that I
really have listened.
Okay, because I know I've said that to you too.
There was some.
Did I ever say
we were notified of this recording? I have that recording.
But with talking to you, haven't I not said, and this was back before. At this point, it's like, let's just get this kid back to his dad, but back a while back, it was, when this kid comes back, our mind was, after Yanni said that, he needs to be with somebody other than them, whether it be a foster parent. Did I not say that to you? Yes, I did.
No, not that I'm going by memory. No.
Okay, I definitely told you that.
My
a couple
concern
different
has
times.
been here, okay, and it shows. I can't deny paper, and I can't deny some
Were
other
you
things.
recording our phone conversations? Because if you were,
Yeah, I
then it would
record
be
all phone
good. Then go
conversations.
back, and I promise you will see that I was saying we take
Okay.
guardianship or else the.
Okay, but here's where we're at. Here's what you're looking at. Here's the issue here. The issue is to what level in terms of a custodial interference. We certainly had a legal issue going on between two parents, okay, that needs to, excuse me. Okay. And so the issue and why you are a person of interest, it is just to what level have you pushed it. And I'm not anywhere near a kidnapping or anything that you went to that extreme. Okay, that is not my issue. In fact, if that were to be an issue, it wouldn't have taken this long of interview and so forth. Okay, there is a level here where I'm saying, I mean, you're an adult, you're clear-minded, and you overstepped. You overstepped on a court document. Would you say that that's true? You're not high. You're not.
Yeah.
You're
No.
not ill.
No.
You're not drunk.
The night before, I shouldn't have told her that I would do that. You know, I
Fair
shouldn't
enough.
have told her I would
Fair
do
enough.
that. I felt like, I felt very, very sorry for this girl.
And that's where I say
she's about to be, she's going to be in some serious trouble. And if she's, and they're rushing us, and you can look at the recordings in there, rushing us to hurry. And I'm trying to help her with this paperwork, you know what I mean? And I felt so sorry for her. She has nobody. I was trying to be a mother to her at that
But
point.
you still, what I would tell you, you still have to take care of yourself.
I understand.
Do not get
I
yourself
completely
in
understand
jam
now.
over someone else. Nobody is worth that, and especially a stranger. I mean, yeah, a stranger with a beautiful baby. But
I didn't know that would be something wrong. You know what I mean? Because she's asking for help. I'm helping her. Writing somebody else's name on there is, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, I guess looking back, it looks bad, but at that time when I'm rushing and I'm helping her and I'm doing this and I guess we didn't think at that moment that was something bad because of the fact that it's not like we're saying, no, Logan's not the father. You know what I mean? He's going to take a test.
You are actually saying, yeah, Logan's
but he's going to take a
father.
test. He's going to take a test. You know what I mean?
So Craig's fine with his name on here? Why I say that to you, Tammy, is that those are clues when something is not right. Okay, here's my question to you. Do you feel okay going out to Channel 5 and saying, here's what I did? Do you feel that those are, again, clues that, okay, maybe a little red flag that I shouldn't be...
I know exactly what you're talking about, because people are doing that to me, too. You know, I've got people all over
I'm just saying
things that we did and doing all that.
Are you comfortable with that? That might be a clue.
No.
You know, when I was a 911 dispatcher, okay, the way I handled a call, I trained a lot, is I said to a person, if you're comfortable by the way you handled this call, because this call could hit the news, that tells you did a good job. But if you feel that now this is going to get on the news and you've done a sloppy job, that's a clue to keep yourself in check.
I understand.
Okay, and that's all I'm saying to you. Because all of a sudden you started to...
I made a huge mistake. I didn't think about this, though, to be honest with you. None of this crossed my mind until my cousin called me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
It steps into the role of interfering, okay? It steps into... It's not the only thing that's come up.
Can I get in trouble for this? Am I going to get in trouble for this?
I believe that there will be a criminal consequence to it. Yeah, I do believe that there is a criminal consequence to that. I'm not all the way done with my investigation, and so that's where... But this is how I work, Tammy. This is what you'll learn from me, okay? I'm not here to create... I believe that you will have to be responsible for your actions, okay? And I'm not here to judge you and jump on that and hoorah on that, okay? I try to keep things simple. The only way, though, when I go out, because everything we submit to the county attorney's office, okay? I play a role, a victim plays a role, you play a role, everybody in this piece. But also where I try to tell people is, hey, be as cooperative and be as clean and own up. Have some ownership here, because you know what?
But I didn't
a judge
know about
understands
this.
ownership. Well,
You know, it's not like it was in my brain. We're sitting here trying to help find a baby and trying to
but
brainstorm all
does
these
this
things.
interfere? Do you understand that it interferes? You have a custodial custody issue, petition for paternity, and so forth. And now, do you not see that there is an issue here? And I think that because you don't have this big criminal history, as a human being, if I were a flip side, it would make me nervous, okay?
Right.
But I will do the best that I can. I'm not done with this investigation, though, so I hope that, here's what I'm going to throw out at you. Is there, as I'm checking many other things, is there anything else? There are some other issues that have come up, and I'm a little hesitant in the point that I don't want to give you everything right now, and that is simply because it is an open investigation.
Right.
Okay? But here's what I am going to tell you. If you screwed up, which obviously you have, there are some things that I definitely, okay, and it's not a fear factor. When I came to you and I said, the way I do is I do my homework first, because this is why I do it. Also, I know when someone's lying to me, and then I shut down and let me be all cop, okay? I also have a different side to, you know what, let me have some compassion, because I don't know what was going on when all this was happening for you. This is a baby that you were so excited for. This is a baby that you believe that God sent you, okay? I'm not here to judge you on that. But along with that, my workability with that is you coming clean with stuff, okay? That's not a trip. That's you, hey, come clean with stuff and let's go
there's
through
nothing
it.
that I know of anything else that could possibly be there. But if you give me a hint of something that could be, then maybe it'll jog my memory. But I don't think there's anything.
Here is going to be my question to you.
Okay.
Okay. And this is almost, I'm going to take a break. Here's my final question to you. And I did all this on purpose. Mm-hmm. So, as she takes off, let's go back to Elizabeth. She takes off for that week. And sure, if Logan would sign that paperwork, it would be simple. Okay, I understand that. And so she takes off, and there's a 5-day grace period here also, and everything is final. And she's angry at Logan. I know that. She doesn't want Logan to have this, Gabriel. Okay. And I'm going to just have it as an open question to you. As she took off and you're communicating with her, okay, and in just that, because I'm not talking about the missing part of Gabriel, I am not putting that on you. Did you assist her? Did you talk with her? Did you basically?
I talked to her after.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. Did you assist her? Did you talk with her in looking up jurisdictions and everything? But what I'm getting to is the goal of, if you stay away, we probably can get this done. Because at that point, Logan is an evil person.
No, 100% positive. I kept begging her to come back.
Okay.
Kept begging her.
Why, and I'm going to, I'm not, so you're saying that you did not,
and we also begged Logan, No, we absolutely.
Nothing. So I'm not going to find that.
No, only when we were doing the jurisdiction thing, trying to help her to find out if she can change the jurisdictions. The minute we found out that she could not, it was get back here, get back here, get back here.
Okay, so that being said.
Now, although I did, the day before, I think I texted her something that my attorney is going to go to court for you. You don't have to go. He said you don't have to go to this court case. He'll be there for you, but you have to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And in which,
I remember you sharing that.
in which that Logan had told us if she doesn't come to this court date, there's going to be another one a couple days later. So we had talked about the fact that that's going to, I told her, so if you get on the road now, because I didn't want to scare her, because this was like a Saturday, whatever it was, there was no way she could get there in time for that court date, driving back. So we told her that because my attorney, said I'll go to court for her. And the other reason for telling her that was to make sure she wasn't scared that you'll make it to the second hearing, so it's okay, come back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when she took off, though, did you encourage her in any way that this 5-day notice, this paperwork, may get signed and then she can come back? What do you
Meaning, when she took off, okay?
What's the 5-day notice?
The 20-second notice to Logan, that basically if we send the fax paperwork, if my attorney sends it over, she signs it and so forth.
Oh, wait, okay, so start all over with that
Did
question.
you encourage her in any way
No.
for that to get signed?
Absolutely not. And I asked her, I said, what do you want me to say it to him? And I said, I can't say that to him. Then I'm not coming back. And she was all upset. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So there's some things that I don't understand here, Elizabeth, I'm sorry, Tammy, from this side.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're basically at our noon hour, so we're going to take our lunch break. We should be back right around 1:30. Until then, remember the admonition, we'll see you at 1:30.
All right.